starting a little bit late. We did have some technical difficulties, but we're going to jump right into this. I'll do roll call really fast. Caitlin Peterson here. James Martinez.
Here.
Paige Lippick.
She indicated she would not be here.
Ashanae Earl. Sarah Dorman.
She also indicated she wasn't going to be able to attend today.
Keith Becker.
Here.
And Rachel Semiconda present. All commissioners should have their microphones on mute to keep the background noise out of the chat room. The chair of the meeting should ensure everyone has an opportunity to speak if they would like. Commissioners should use the chat function to inform the chair if they would like to make a statement, and the chair will announce the commissioners to speak in the order they appear in the chat. Is there an open call to the public? Would anybody from the public like to say anything? Elida, do you want to talk? We're giving 3 minutes for each person about what you wanted last commission meeting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I wanted to bring up Flagstaff's curbside management plan. And you may have all seen an email that I sent to Stacy, and Stacy, thank you for forwarding that. So the city of Flagstaff has been working on a curbside management plan, which is focused on accessibility for everyone in the downtown area when it comes to parking. And they began doing a round of data collection back in December to January. They collected data on parking, looking at, what spaces are commonly available, how quickly do spaces turn over, how is our curbside utilized, basically. And Park Flag has been working with Dixon Resources Unlimited, a consulting group, on putting together a plan to better manage parking in the downtown area. There's a second round of data collection that I think just wrapped up. And right now they are drafting their curbside management plan to present to City Council in August. And it seems like an excellent opportunity for all of us to get involved. When I saw the presentation from Park Flag and Dixon Resources Unlimited in a City Council meeting, they actually explicitly called for the inclusion of this commission and also for the inclusion of the curbside management plan and the ADA transition plan. And for the next piece, I don't know how many of you already know or exactly what's up with it, but I reached out on behalf of Barrier Free Flagstaff to offer some collaboration with the city. And there's a presentation in this room tonight from 5 to 6 on the curbside management plan. It's not a meeting that's open to the public, but I was told it's for commissioners and for groups that have shown a special interest. So I'm unsure if that means that you all have been invited, but I'm pretty sure it's intended for this group as well.
Stacy can speak to that.
Oh, I sent out an email to the commission.
Got it.
No, I can, and I'll resend it today so that you can have all the information, but I did send that out inviting. There was an invite that came from Park Flag to participate in that. Yeah.
I got it. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else from the public that would like to speak? All right, we're gonna go ahead, Stephen.
I have comments that are related to item 6, actually. I was going to save my comments until then.
Go ahead.
Nope. He's got to wait until the agenda item.
Oh,
Because
sorry.
it's something that's on the agenda.
Okay, let's move forward. We are going to approve minutes. Commissioners, we will be voting on everything from April of 2024 all the way through last month's meeting, May 28th of 2026. Do I hear a motion to approve all of those minutes? I will make a motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Caitlin and Jamie. And we have approved all of those minutes. Thank you, everyone. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's call for a vote. Everybody's that
In favor.
in favors, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
4, thank you. Moving on, we're to discussion items. First and foremost is Erin and I are working on the city compliance plan update, and I'm going to shoot it over to Erin.
Hey, so we need an ADA transition plan. We've needed one since 1974, but now we're finally getting to it. And part of that plan includes, what are some of the barriers? What are we doing to remove the barriers? How do you submit grievances? We need an ADA coordinator, and so we're working on getting some of those pieces in place. So the theory is you could come up with a compliance plan that says you're working on the transition plan, but the compliance plan is almost as big as the transition plan. So it makes sense to, let's just tackle the transition plan and move forward with that. And so I came up with, I've got a couple samples. I've got an older one from City of Phoenix. They've got a new one coming. They spent $20 million and hired an outside consultant. Those is one way to do it, hire an outside consultant, but then you need some cha-ching to do it that way. And so instead, we're gonna do what we can with what we got. And so I came up with, oh, good, you were able to share that on the screen. Kind of the 13 sections that I feel would encompass this transition plan. And so
Make a 14th one.
yeah, if you got a suggestion, let's put
Well,
a
no, I
14.
just don't like 13.
Oh, or let's
The
subtract,
last one might be bad luck.
let's subtract one and go 12.
doesn't.
14, we don't need 13.
We'll just skip it. We'll call it 12A.
Well, hey, hotel, right?
Yeah.
13th floor at the hotel.
Yeah. So, kind of an executive summary, an ADA policy statement, the ADA coordinator's information, public involvement process. And, again, this commission's a great way to do that, but, wider if we can. The self-evaluation methodology. So part of this, we need to get some training, done. I envision this as city employees from different departments, facilities, parks and rec, pros is what they call it. Possibly code compliance. A lot of the people in the city that are reviewing the engineering plans already know the ADA requirements, so they're doing that. So we'll see if we can get them together and then do a training on what we need to do to inform them of what's on the self-assessment. And the checklist I currently have is 98 pages. And so that's a large self-assessment for each building. It's probably pretty comprehensive. But then we need to get to like number 8, where we prioritize what we're evaluating. So we're going to evaluate those buildings that have higher traffic first. I'm thinking, like the libraries have a lot of traffic. City Hall probably is second in terms of number of traffic. Could be Aquaplex.
Yeah, I was gonna say recreation
Yeah,
facilities.
rec facilities, maybe number 2. And then we, kind of move down the line. So it's important that we still evaluate the buildings for employees that may work in those locations. But I think we need to prioritize the quantity of people first and then kind of down the line. So that's kind of my thought for prioritization.
Would streets be included in that?
Yes,
I've noticed some crosswalks, I cannot push the button to cross. It's
Yeah.
too far.
nope, that's
So-
perfect.
That would be.
Yeah, streets, I've got streets as Scott Overton and his group.
Caitlin, you can send that concern to Reggie Eccleston's office, code compliance. I'll share that information with you after the meeting. You can send it forward to them, and then Aaron, do you have we don't have the complaint form yet, do we?
No, so I'm hoping to present both the kind of the introduction, get a new site for the ADA coordinator, a grievance form for concerns and kind of what the grievance process is. And then that knocks off, several of these items on the list. We've got the coordinator's info out there. We got a grievance process, and so Keith.
I'm wondering, 2 things. One, if in the training that you give to the employees, could you get an additional training of like universal design?
Yes, so,
Because that's, ADA is great, but it's old.
Yep.
And
Right.
universal design makes things better. Those buttons that you push is not a requirement.
Right.
But the fact that they have
But they're
them
all
is
different in
good.
Town
Is
too,
good.
like the
And
downtown
so
ones
universal
are great.
design
The ones, yeah.
takes it one step further. It makes those buttons a little more accessible or easier to access.
Yeah.
access.
Or they should all be the same.
And my second request, and that could be number 14, you could add in there is
There you
universal
go.
design.
Mr. 14.
But another piece is, when you're doing the ADA training and the universal design, would you be willing to allow
Yes.
any of us to participate in those?
Yep.
If I knew about them, I would want to participate also. I know some, but I would love to sit in on an official one
Oh.
somewhere from people that know the real nitty gritty.
Sure.
So the Welcomed Home is gonna be doing the training, and a portion of that, I think day 4 is nothing but universal design. And right now, Welcomed Here recommends if you're going to attend, and it will be up to Aaron and the city who attends. But right now, the suggested donation for attending is $250.
So it's, we're working out the details. We're gonna work it out, probably be in the next 2-3 months. But it's a 4-day training. Again, suggested 250 to attend. The primary focus is getting some of the city employees trained, but then opening up to
Two
this
fifty
commission,
is the amount of people,
dollars.
the cost.
Yeah.
Lorraine, I see that you're, oh, sorry, Keith.
That I'm willing to take vacation time as long as I know when it is.
Yep.
And what time, and I will cough up the money myself. So I want to learn.
I think right now we're thinking it will be open to commissioners. If you have a problem with the 250, talk to me. We do have a little bit of flexibility in that. And so just talk to me and we'll figure that out.
Yep.
Lorena, I saw that your hand was up.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Lorena Reyes. I'm the Associate Transit Planner with Mountain Line. I'm just curious. I see that, you've got a really nice compact list here. I guess I'm wondering where the collaboration with other agencies are, just if that would be, and again, excuse me, as I'm coming into the ADA transition plan as someone who's staring at the work you've already done, but just curious where collaboration would meet kind of that somewhere in the recommendation process and or the implementation schedule. And then at the very bottom, I do see a place where you're going to be making maps. And so just curious as to how MetroPlan and Mountain Line can collaborate and make sure this is also included in our coordinated mobility plan. So kind of a lot of questions there. Just thought I'd ask where the collaboration component comes in.
4
Thanks.
is specific in terms of public involvement in the process. And so number 4 is on there as part of that, and it's a requirement in terms of having public involvement. So yes. So the way I envision it, is, maybe the first 2, maybe the first 3, we can come back next meeting and talk about, here's my plan for the website. Here's the submission form for grievances. How does the wording look? How does the form look? The form's ADA accessible in terms of, it can be, it's through the website. So it's gonna, make sure it's got all the accessibility requirements there. But then, the wording, did we miss anything? What's important? What do we need to tell people? So yes, so the commission involved, and then I'd like to go wider for public involvement.
And then Lorena, Aaron and I had also talked about intergovernmental agencies doing the training. So when I come to Mountain Line next week, maybe you and I can meet for like 15 minutes about it. Because I think that Safe Streets would help a lot with the appendices because you guys have already done the mapping. So
That's
that would
kind of
be-
what I was going to add. Yeah, is that there might be some, you might not have to reinvent the wheel on some of that. So if we can support you, please let us know.
Okay, so you're definitely included in it.
Yeah.
Now we just have to hit the hires up for 250.
And we're gonna read number 13 to 14 or 12A, so. But, and again, this isn't all inclusive yet. I mean, if there's some higher topics that we need to do to get in this transition plan, that's gonna help. But I wanted to get the ball rolling in terms of, here's what we're thinking. Here's kind of, what I like about this too is the fact that it's numbered. All right, now we can focus on number 12 next time. Now we can focus on 8. Where are we at and getting this plan together? And then part of it too is a timeline. So we've got to, come up with, what the timeline is to get some of these done. And I'd like to get it, like I said, let's start knocking some of these numbers out each meeting.
Right, any other questions?
I have a question. As the youth liaison, um, representing a youth liaison with disabilities who may not be able to afford $250 for the training, why is there a fee for $250 for the training?
Part of it's the resources, bringing the individual out, and then it's 4 days of somebody's time that's valuable. So, yeah, there's cost associated with putting on a
It's
seminar.
actually probably relatively low.
Yeah,
Yeah.
compared to going to a conference.
It's covered.
Yeah, and the trainings, it's not, it's more specific to the self-evaluation. All right, so we're gonna train everybody on, you go into a building, what do you look for? Are the ramps the right,
Yeah.
so it's not necessarily for, I mean, it does involve programs, but the self-evaluation, for facilities, for activities, for, that kind of thing.
We will have members of the community involved in that self-evaluation, right?
So for city buildings and activities, we may or may not. It might be, because it's a self-evaluation, it's focused on the city evaluating itself. Where we're gonna involve the community is input on, hey, you guys totally missed this, or good job, saying you didn't do a good job in certain places. So that's how I envision it.
And Aaron, if I'm not mistaken, you plan on bringing all of this back to the commission, that would make it public, correct?
Yes, that is true. Yep. Yeah, and the transition plan's public too, so.
Yeah.
All documents in it.
Yeah.
Every
Yep.
bit of it, yes.
Any idea on when the training would be?
Probably September, October.
I think she's back.
Might be.
She's out of the country in late August,
Still
early
make it the
September.
third weekend
Yeah.
or third week in September.
Don't do the third week in September? Okay.
That's my volunteer time at Picking in the Pines.
So I think by next meeting, we will have a better idea of when the training is gonna be.
Yep.
Yeah, cause they might get a request for it.
Yeah, I'll be happy to take vacation to look at that and pay for it.
Okay.
I got no problems with that.
Awesome.
I spent that kind of money on a lot worse stuff.
It's sitting in the back of your garage still.
On Amazon that nobody ever uses, yeah.
And I personally have taken the training, and I think it's an amazing, Lowell Observatory, their grand opening. They used Welcomed Here to come in. We went in, we did the whole, it's a huge, Russ, how big is that ADA? It's like 80 pages, isn't it?
Well, and depending on what part of ADA you're talking about, but.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah.
ADA is huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a 98-page checklist that, we can either whittle down, or maybe we need to use all 98 pages for each location, so.
And so then, so primarily you'll be looking at Title II, right?
Correct.
Of the ADA.
Yeah. And
that's true.
each day focuses on a different thing. Normally, this is a 4-month class, but because we're having the facilitator come out, she requested that we do it in 4 days, a full 8-hour day. So it will be a lot.
And the facilitator will be Susan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she will be training Jamie and I as well.
And so, again, what are the barriers? What are we doing to reduce the barriers? How can we improve? And then when's it going to be implemented? Cost estimates and funding strategies. That could be helpful if you guys hear of grant money that we can apply for. Like I said, for the city of Phoenix to tout, oh, we got this great plan, but then to have 20 million to do it. Well, of course you can do a great plan with $20 million. There's probably a lot of fluff in there too, but so.
Hey, Lorena.
Hi.
Are there any grants that you think would be appropriate? Because this will focus some on transportation.
Sure, yeah, I think if there's some caveat of overlap that we can identify that there's potential for that, I'll definitely look into it and see if there's any language on ADA transition plans regarding the 5310 Mobility Management Fund. I think there could be an angle there. So
And that's
Um,
open
we'll-
now, isn't it?
No, no, that would come out in January.
Okay. So January is when we start looking, Aaron.
Okay,
Well,
Lorraine,
I'd say look now, but there's
Yeah.
potential that there might be space for that. So I will work with some other staff members here and just see if there would be wiggle room, because I think there could be an angle there. So
Okay,
get back to you on that.
and then the plan's not good, it's not a good plan if we're not reviewing it. You know what I mean? And so we can't say, oh, we got this plan together, but then A, we didn't do anything the plan said, or, you know what I mean? And then, you know, what does it take to review the plan, update the self-assessments? So let's get something in place that's, I use the word duplicatable. Like if I'm not here or, you know, any of you aren't here, somebody can pick it up and run with it. But to show up and have nothing, it doesn't help anyone.
and then I know that for this commission, one of our priorities was kind of a lower priority, was to make sure that we had self-identification for city employees. We've talked about that, and that definitely will be on this list. So it's gonna be separate than looking at public buildings, that sort of thing, but it is definitely something because of this commission that Aaron's gonna look at, so.
Yeah, and so we got, you know, these storage sheds and, you know, we got this park maintenance buildings. And so we're not necessarily going in there to say, hey, are they all ADA accessible? However, at some point, if we got employees that are working in those departments and need them to be accessible, we need those, you know, we need those resources. But it's lower on the prioritization, both in terms of, you know, they can request an ADA accommodation, but the public's not going in there, you know what I mean? So it's kind of for the masses, and then that's, you know, as you go down, you can all get in there.
So like with the training, I assume HR would be involved in that training then?
Yeah, I'm under HR, so I'm in that department.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
then I think that'd be a great idea to have like the ADA, the one that does ADA accommodations attend as well. Yep, that's a
Like
great idea.
Parks and Rec. They
Yep,
can, they can,
Parks and Rec,
you know,
ADA.
pilot that like, so I asked.
Directors, managers, those kind of
Yep,
people, because ADA can go with any department, anywhere.
that's true.
But specifically, Aaron, as the risk manager and the ADA coordinator, you are not in charge of ADA accommodations,
Correct.
really?
Yep,
So who is in charge of ADA?
Mariah.
Raya?
Mariah, she's ER compliance.
She was our
Leave.
liaison when you were chair. Peterson, right? Stacy
Franklin.
Franklin.
That's interesting. And her job title is?
Well, she's like business analyst associate or something. But she's under the ER, employee relations, compliance, and yep. Leaves. Yeah, yeah, so she does FMLA, she does all that.
Stephen, did I see that you had your mic off? Did you want to say anything? Okay, anybody else? Right, let's move on. The next is continued discussion and direction on commission and meeting structures. I'm going to pass this off to Stacy.
This was just an opportunity. We ran out of time at the last meeting in May to continue to discuss the kind of the commission structure, future meetings and how the agendas look. I know we were talking a bit about the liaison participation, how that looks. So it's just an opportunity to continue that conversation amongst the team, and if there's any direction for future meetings, we can take that now. Oh, Steve, it's got.
Stephen, go ahead.
Okay, this is where I wanted to put in my comments. I prepared some comments here. I am the new chair of the Northern Arizona Community of Practice. I'm here to speak in support of retaining the liaison positions on the Commission for Inclusion and Adaptive Living. Eliminating these liaisons would in fact create yet another barrier for these individuals. Having representation and a voice on this commission is an essential lifeline for advocacy and access. Liaisons translate complex policies and procedures into actionable, accessible information for those people that they work with, eliminating them shifts the burden onto the disabled individuals, many of whom already face access challenges. With the state and federal organizations that serve the disabled populations moving towards the progressive concept of employment first, anyone with any disability can work, a concept that is going to take collaboration between providers, employers, educators, and the community. Eliminating these liaison positions would be completely out of step with the direction that we are moving in the disability support community. We need community leaders involved and collaborating for our disabled community to maintain and retain their voice. So I thank you for letting me make these comments.
Stephen, and I'd like to address that. Last meeting, I think that the discussion was that we're not trying to get rid of the liaisons. We're trying to move it to public participation, simply because we're getting more and more things on the agenda, and the liaison time, I think, could be discussed during public participation. Certainly, if there's something that NACOP needs to bring to the table, you can forward it to our liaison, and our liaison can decide whether or not it needs to be on the agenda. But I don't think it was ever the thought to get rid of liaisons. I think it was just to move them to public participation, more as an administrative thing than anything else.
Well, thank you for that clarification. Because it was concerning the way it came back to me, it was eliminating. So
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification. Yeah.
That's never been the thought.
Okay. Thank you.
Keith?
I'm all about liaisons because I believe that's education for us. And
Okay.
does you know the definition of liaison?
Let's hear it.
Well, Mr. Webster says it's communication for establishing and maintaining mutual understanding and cooperation. Okay, and everybody knows I'm all about collaboration and cooperation. And a liaison is a person who establishes and maintains communication for mutual understanding and cooperation. And I believe not only do we need to have the liaisons that we already have, we need to go out to the community and look for more. And I realize it's going to take time out of the meeting. And if we have to make the meeting a little bit longer, or if the meeting does go a little bit longer, I'm personally okay with that. I'm doing this on my vacation time. But anyway, I feel it's necessary we have liaisons. You know me, I always believe in education, and liaisons give us the education from other groups around our city and the state. So I think it's critical that we keep. Sorry. I'd like to move them to the beginning of the agenda and give them maybe 3 to 5 minutes to do their liaison report, not include them with the outside comments. That way, you know, if they can't stay for the 2 hours for our meetings, you know, they can leave. So that'd be good to put it at the beginning. And that way we may be able to get more people, more liaisons from other groups around our city and state to participate. Because I believe the more participation, the more education we get, the better we can make our decisions and do things and make things happen.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
think
We have the same.
And I'm sorry,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Comment period is over right now. We're gonna turn
Okay,
it
thank
inward
you.
for commission discussion.
So I don't think that the issue again was ever to get rid of liaisons. I think it was just to move it to the public participation, which is already 3 minutes. They get 3 minutes. So, you know, and Stacy, you can talk to this. None of the other commissions, Commission on Diversity Awareness is just as important as ADA. They don't have liaisons. They have public participation. So I think that making it a public participation is more in alignment with the way that the city is doing their commissions. And Stacy, you can speak more to that if you'd like.
You know, you said it just, yeah, we don't have many commissions, if any, that have specific liaisons that aren't part of the appointments from council. I think it's important to keep in mind too, that council makes the appointments to the commissions. And so when we start to move beyond the 7 members that they appoint, it can kind of muddy the waters on where the authority lies within the commission itself. And so again, there was not a suggestion to eliminate you know, the information that liaisons come with. I think it just, the intention was to put them in a more appropriate place that allows them to bring their information, to share that, and then allow the commission to then move inward and focus in on the business that they have to focus in on. That's based on the feedback that I had been given leading up to this.
I think we just have a lot that we're doing. When I first started the commission 5.5 years ago, we were talking about 3 or 4 things. And we didn't close the loop on any of those. For those who were not here, closing the loop means seeing it from beginning to end and watching it take shape. So we are now at our last summer meeting last June was 14 different items, and we got to 3 of those, I think. I looked at it about a week ago, and I think we got to 3 of them. So, and I think that that's part of the reason that it's important to keep it at public participation, simply because there's a lot. NACOP is important. Police liaison is important. Sidewalk liaison is going to tie right into transition. So some of these liaisons, Lorena is going to tie right into this compliance plan, this transition plan. So that in and of itself is going to get rid of some of these liaisons just because it's going to be in a discussion, an ongoing discussion item. I personally am of the firm belief that we need to move it to public participation. I would be willing to try it for 6 months and see if that works. And if that doesn't work, then commissioners can revisit it and decide if we want to go back to having liaison time. But I think that the time that we spend, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 liaisons. And if we give each of them 5 minutes, that's a quarter of our meeting. And if we moved it to public participation, those 5 would get 15 minutes. And that is 10 minutes of time that we can focus on something that we've identified that is very important. And I'm not saying that liaisons aren't doing important work. Absolutely they are. But this commission lines out, we identify our priorities, and our priorities are what we need to focus on. So Caitlin, I'd like to hear from you since you're a brand new commissioner.
I mean, I think time management is important. So I would agree with you, Rachel. I think we try it, and if it doesn't work, go back to what we had. But that's my 2 cents.
Jamie?
I'm in agreement with what Rachel said. I believe that we can still have the cooperation and collaboration effect of the liaisons if they're moved over to public participation. And then, as Rachel was saying, if they need to discuss something further and have more time, we can look at them being placed on the agenda at that point in time. Because we definitely need to keep our time management into consideration. And I also want to keep uniformity with the other city commissions. I do believe that that's important in light of the fact that no other city commissions currently have liaisons. I think we need to uphold that uniformity as well.
So Stacy, do we just go with that? We don't need to vote on it, but
It's not a vote. I just need direction.
I think let's do public participation for 6 months and then revisit it in this August, September, October, November, December. Let's revisit it. December, we usually take our Christmas break. Let's revisit it in January. Right.
That's a good question.
This is Commissioner time. Sorry. Okay, moving on. We need to do a follow-up discussion from what Jeff Kennedy brought in. Does everybody have their papers that we worked on, or can you put that up on the screen? Oh, we still have that. I have it on my phone. If not, I do have it, and I've got the one piece that Jeff thought maybe we should focus on. And I don't mind writing what we talk about, and I actually would be okay with having liaisons participate in this. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
As the chair.
So let's talk about why do we exist? And number one, educational opportunities. What educational needs or opportunities feel most urgent? And this is open to everybody.
The training on the self-evaluation is a big educational piece.
Anybody else?
So you do want input from liaisons at this point?
Yeah, everybody.
Well, I think as a commission goal is to increase educational opportunities. It doesn't mean just educational opportunities for staff. It means educational opportunities for members of the community who have disabilities. And as a youth liaison, obviously, the commission can work towards increasing educational opportunities for youth and young adults with disabilities.
Anyone else? So the two things I think that we heard is training on self-evaluation for the transition plan and focusing on educational opportunities for youth.
And young adults, yeah.
And adults.
Young adults.
Young adults.
I think they're most likely the group that will attempt to access increased educational opportunities.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but NACOPT does that, right?
NACOP specifically advocates for youth and young adults with disabilities, yeah.
Okay,
As a member of the Arizona Community of Practice Transition Team, which is the state transition team.
yeah. Okay, let's move on to access to housing, buildings, and transportation. Where do we still see major barriers? We already know sidewalks are something this commission's focused really hard on, but what else?
I put I'm looking for low income housing and there's only a few options. But there's not a lot of apartments or houses that are accessible for especially wheelchairs, like any mobility aids. So that's what I put, like having more access to apartments or anything we need for our everyday life.
Mayor Daggett, I think you can talk to that because I know that right now we have a housing crisis that you guys have dealt a lot with. And I know that a certain percentage of low income housing or all housing has to be ADA accessible, but can you speak on that a little more?
Can you ask the question again?
Caitlin brought up the question of low income housing that is also ADA accessible.
Being
And
a
I know-
priority for this commission.
Not necessarily a priority for the commission, but what currently exists concerning percentages of ADA apartments in new builds, that sort of thing.
Okay, I'm not sure that we have, I'm not sure of the law around that and what we have control over, but an area that I could see having some discussion around is when the city redevelops public housing. So making sure that this commission is involved in what that new development looks like. And
Okay,
I'm sure there will be lots of public comment. With private development, other than federal laws that exist, I don't know that the city has any authority. I suppose we could certainly work to build relationships with developers, or you could ask council and staff to work with the developers. But
okay.
I'm really unsure about that aspect, the private aspect.
Okay. I know that Safe Streets Concerning Transportation, I know that they're doing mapping of the city. They've done a lot. No, it was Keith. Russ, did you participate in that one 2 years ago after both of you did? Russ and Keith both participated in a Safe Streets audit, and they walked around Southside, and there was a lot of that. Did that get sent to MetroPlan, do you know? It did.
Metro Plan actually planned and facilitated it,
Okay.
and in the downtown area. as well,
Right.
Yeah.
So I know that they've been doing some mapping, and yeah, I think, you know, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think that it's an ongoing thing, and I think that with the Safe Streets program, I think that that's coming along really nicely. That also will roll into the transition plan at some point when we prioritize everything. So I think that we're doing pretty good on the transportation issue. I ride the bus and I ride paratransit, and I've already been working with them on writing the routes and giving suggestions. And Caitlin, I would certainly like to bring you on board for that if you'd like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Russ, I saw your hand up.
Just two things, and back to the housing thing. The community practice transition team did meet with Sullivan Moore, who is a housing planner for the city of Flagstaff, specifically to talk about the lack of accessible housing in the city of Flagstaff. And he explained to us that's a really complicated thing because accessible housing tends to be more expensive. And of course, the city needs housing that is affordable housing. So it's really kind of a complicated thing. He did talk about too, that like when projects are being approved by the city, the city, the people who are actually approving those projects, planning and zoning, et cetera, they can actually talk about accessible housing in their conversation of having those developments approved. Does that kind of make sense? Which I think is what Mayor Daggett was saying too, maybe in a more complicated way, but that kind of makes sense. And I think that is something, if this commission chose to do that, this commission can meet with the housing planners and really even planning and zoning to talk about that. The other thing I would like to comment on, and I did as a commissioner back then, I did review the entire proposed regional plan 2045. And I would say that far and away, the most mentions of accessibility and inclusion and universal design are in the transportation section. I mean, I think the transportation planners have really done a very good job planning for more accessible and inclusive transportation in the city.
I was thinking about it, a universal design when relating back to housing too. It's probably is more expensive, but it's good for everybody, so.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I just had a thought that once Jamie and I are trained and become facilitators for Welcomed Here, I think that we could certainly spend 30 minutes and talk really quickly about universal design with the commission, if the commissioners are interested in that. So I guess we can talk about that later. All right, anything else about housing, buildings, or transportation?
I just put downtown buildings are not, like, probably half are not accessible, just riding around. Like,
City
not able to
buildings.
go in to like half the stores downtown, because there's a step like this.
I know this commission has addressed that before, and because there's no such thing as grandfathered in ADA, but they don't have to change unless they're doing a remodel or refurbishment. Remodel. So unless they are like basically tearing down the building, which will never happen downtown.
If they get like those things that go over the curbs,
Yes.
like, there's a couple that have that, but it's probably up to the business, right?
That may be something the commission can tackle with private owners.
Yeah, I think
Maybe the commission can.
a few that don't even realize that that's a problem, right? Like, I never used to notice it, and then you get a disability and you realize, so.
And you can't
Yeah.
shop there. You know,
Exactly.
like, hey,
I've
losing
told,
money.
I've
Right.
told them, sorry, I can't get in your store. I don't know what you want me to do.
Get around.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Some of them
Yeah.
are not very well
Yeah.
put together on the inside here.
And Mr. Martinez can recall and relate that in the past, the commission was involved with looking at stores and exploring low private spaces and then working in an advisory manner.
Right.
How this could be
And
improved.
if I may speak to that, pardon me, being a lifelong resident of this community and wanting to have access to this community, I do find that, along with what Caitlin was saying, you want to be able to shop at the downtown shops. You want to be able to go to some of the downtown restaurants. And that's not always possible when you have a disability, because a lot of those places are not fully accessible to meet the needs of someone with a disability. And then you also have to contend with parking issues downtown, which can make it quite difficult for someone to participate who does have a disability. So working individually with those businesses, like a one-on-one relationship would be really good to talk about the aspects of universal design and how can we make the business as accessible as it possibly can be. That way, everyone has an opportunity to participate in your business and contribute back to the community financially. So just my 2 cents.
Stacy, I just had a thought. If we were to approach private businesses, we can't do that as commissioners, can't we?
You can approach them and say, I'd love to give you some information and provide this. We can't demand that. Like, we can't just go in and be like, hi, we're the commission, we're gonna do an audit of your building and give you recommendations. We cannot do that.
I think just like awareness, bringing it to the business, again, they might not know, or they might not realize. And then I think a lot of them would be willing to not change it entirely, but adapt and put something there so we could at least get in and out.
And just two things. One, part of the issue with the downtown area too is those are very old buildings and a lot of them are on the historical register. And
Right.
and it's just kind of the way that is. And the downtown merchants kind of like their buildings the way they are. Because it has that historic sense, and it's, it's kind of a pioneer, thing and all that. So, and then the other thing is about a year ago, and maybe a little bit more than a year ago, Rachel and Keith. But this commission sent a letter to the city council supporting barrier-free Flagstaff as a new public disability advocacy group who actually does go out to private businesses and actually does those kind of audits. Barrier-free Flagstaff calls on sense of place discoveries because they're really looking for a welcoming, safe place for everyone. But of course, accessibility and inclusion are part of that, because if you encounter a stairway as you enter the building, it's not welcoming.
Yeah.
It just is not. So just kind of a reminder that this commission did send a letter to the city council a year ago supporting BFF in their endeavors in doing that. So
All right, anything else about housing, buildings, and transportation? All right, let's move on to community participation. Jeff has up there what prevents full participation. I think that we've just talked a little bit about that. So let's go to the second question. What would meaningful inclusion look like? And I put just more access to stores.
More access to buildings, that's what I put. Education might be in there.
I put education and more access to stores and businesses.
Okay, Keith, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, I'm all about education also, collaboration for sure, and liaisons, but how to get the community involved in those things, that's a whole nother topic to deal with, because, a lot of people don't know. And if they don't know, that's where education again comes in. It says, what would meaningful inclusion look like? Well, to me, cats and dogs living together. And that means the disabled community as well as the community that is not disabled. And we gotta start living together and figure out how we can live together and how we can educate. I don't know which one is a cat and which one is a dog, but it doesn't really matter.
This commission has, let me back up. The first month that I was on this commission, I did an event at one of the NACOP things at CCC. And I talked about self-advocacy. And I think that, we have a banner that Stacy had printed for us. And I think that it's really important for us to use that banner, start going to events, and that's how we're going to educate people. Maybe focus on one thing at a time, self-advocacy. Then the next event we do, it's, training, not training, resume writing or neurodivergency, different things. But I think that as part of education, that's what we need to be doing, is we need to be getting out to all of those events. And it doesn't have to be an ACOP event. It could be, there's a market every Saturday over at Pine Forest Charter. We could go out there. It is a commitment of time, but that's our education opportunity, I think.
Rachel, I could not agree with you more. Education is key. And of course, as a youth advocate, I'm going to advocate for educating the youth and the young adults.
Yeah.
But it's also about educating the older folks too. And maybe they need to be educated the most.
Like going to the peaks. and
Because they've
doing something.
established, feelings and kind of opinions about people with disabilities, which we need to re-educate them about. The other thing I would like to kind of remind the commission about is opportunity is more than just about access to it's about inclusive access. Which means integrated access. It means being able to enter the building in the same door as everybody else enters the building. And we know, the city hall itself is kind of an example of that. And this city hall was built a long time ago. But if you look at the city library public entrance, that's fully inclusive as well as accessible.
And the Orpheum too.
The Orpheum as
The
well.
Orpheum is a historic building and they changed a lot of stuff in there.
That is absolutely.
To make it inclusive for everybody. I can go down to the front at the Orpheum.
That is an excellent example. And that costs some money for them to do. But then again, it pays off because now people who have mobility challenges can all go to those concerts together with their friends.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's money that's going back into the local economy.
And then one other thing too, and it's not just facilities, it's also websites. It's technological access. I don't know.
So I'm going to put down inclusive websites as one of the community participations.
Another piece of education that ties into these meetings and community participation is that with the liaison reports, a liaison could give a report and then have a dialogue with the commission. And if we're moving them to the public comment section, and Stacy, please correct me if I'm wrong, but My understanding is that when you provide a public comment, you're just speaking to the commission. And then the discussion is over. You don't get feedback and there isn't a real exchange of information that provides more education or more collaboration. So I think perhaps, bless you, if liaisons are being moved to the public comment section and being, kind of categorized in that just member of the public area, maybe another change to the structure so that there is a to from, so that that dialogue isn't eliminated would help support educational goals.
Can I ask you to bring that up in 6 months? It's a good
I-
point, but can
Well,
you
the
bring
change
that up?
was made today, so I feel that it's relevant now.
Well, the change has been made, so there's no changing the change. And we agreed to revisit it in 6 months, so I think that that's a very valid point. And I think that if you come back with that in January, is something that the commission will consider.
And I can bring it back in public comments each time until then as well.
Okay.
It's just, Rachel, it's just, and I believe that I heard at the last meeting relative to that this would be following more how the city council works.
Correct.
And the way the city council does work is if a person does a public comment at the start of the meeting, and then when it comes to another point in the agenda where a city council member would like to discuss that comment, the city council member can call up that public commenter and ask them.
No,
I've seen it happen in city council meetings.
if they're offering public comment on an agenda item, and Mayor can certainly speak to this as well, if they're making a public comment on an agenda item, then there could be a dialogue with council. Open call to the public, there cannot be any dialogue back and forth.
Okay, but like with Stephen, he was making on an agenda item, and then you did not allow him to speak to it.
Well, no, because he had offered his public comment, and then it was time for the commission to discuss.
So if Keith, as a commissioner, had asked Stephen to come back and then he could.
Correct.
I
If
see.
there was questions to be asked, then yes, that they could. There's a pretty, and our city attorney and mayor will probably giggle. There's the 3-minute public comment, then there needs to be a relevant question that comes back. It can't just be, can you please just finish your statement? So it's really intended to inform council discussion, inform council decisions. But yes, a public dialogue can occur
See,
during an agenda item.
and there's no limit as to how many members of the public can come in for their 3-minute public comment.
So technically, no, but the chair of the meeting, the mayor could do this. And the way we do this for city council is that we will take open call to the public for 30 minutes at the very beginning of the meeting. If there are more people that exist that want to comment after that 30-minute period, they can come back, and at the end of the meeting, when we have our second open call, they can continue, that the line of commenters can continue at that end. But there's only 30 minutes at the beginning of the meeting where public
But
comment.
there is a second call.
There's an open call at the beginning and an open call at the end.
But the city council meetings are not specific times. We're 11 to 1.
Correct.
So that second call probably would not fit into our agenda.
So this commission, like by ordinance, is from 2 hours, this meeting.
Not by ordinance, we voted on it.
The commission can decide, how long they want their meetings to be with input from staff.
And the commission doesn't vote on that.
Not necessarily, it's direction. They can vote on it, or they can just give the direction to do it.
And that's by consensus or,
Yes, I mean, the commission can give the direction to do that. I think at this point, we are definitely getting off topic. We're going back
yeah.
to the prior discussion. But the council can, or the commission can decide how they want to run their meetings and for what length, again, with staff input. 2 hours is a big commitment for staff. It's a big commitment for you. So keeping that in mind.
All right, let's move on to number 4, hiring and rehab opportunities. What employment opportunities need more attention? And do we want to keep this city focused or do we want to do city and private?
to general. I mean, I work for non-city, so I just put more virtual opportunities. I think a lot of the jobs in general were all virtual, went to virtual during the pandemic, and then now they're requiring people to go back, or there's a hybrid component. I would not be able to do a non-virtual job. So that's what I put.
Okay, Caitlin. Keith? You have anything, Keith?
Well, I don't think there's enough of both employment and not enough, rehabilitative. I think there's too many barriers in both. But again, we're talking education, and education can solve a whole lot of problems. It really can. There's just one little piece in here when it says, looking ahead, what do you think is the most important one? I thought the first one, E, the education, because the education can solve all those other problems. As long as we do it right and we include as many people as possible in the education. And that can be, at public meetings, that can be at events in town. We can, I don't think the citizens have enough education in ADA and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people who are in wheelchairs and stuff that won't speak up for themselves and won't speak up for it because they are so used to
Not
being denied or so used to, they already know which stores they can go in and which ones they can't and all that kind of stuff. And they don't really go out to the other place and say, look, I need to be able to get into your store, and again, they get used to it. It's, I can't remember what the word for it is, but
it's like a comfort.
Yeah.
They feel safe going into these places, maybe versus
So,
others.
to me, education is the biggest thing. One of my favorite sayings, and I'll say it here, intellectuals solve problems. Geniuses prevent them. And you know who said that? Albert Einstein.
I think for those of us who are visually disabled, hidden disabilities as well, it's important for us to advocate for what we need. Like you said, if we go into a store and if I can't get my chair in, I need to speak up.
Yeah.
I can't pull back, and I see that a lot, especially with older mobility users.
Stay out front of the store, pound on the wall or
Yeah.
something like that, or get somebody's attention, say, I want to shop in your store. How do I get in there? And once I'm in there, how do I move around? And maybe then at that point, they're willing to try to get a ramp or something, even if it's portable, they can set it up just for a person, take it down afterwards. There's a lot of things, but that's education again.
So,
Anyway.
and I think that ties into the self-advocacy.
Yeah.
And maybe what we need to do also is offer opportunities to learn how to self-advocate.
Yeah.
Jamie, do you have anything?
Absolutely, Rachel. I just wanted to tie into what you were saying. Maybe we need to increase our self-advocacy opportunities because a lot of folks with developmental disabilities may not know how to appropriately self-advocate for themselves. So having somebody work with them and guide them and educate them in that whole process is so important because they may not have had the opportunity to effectively self-advocate up until recently, let's say. So having somebody work alongside them so that they can become more confident in that process is very important.
Anybody else? All right, let's move on. Key concerns. I heard education. What concerns come up repeatedly in all of this? Education for sure. What else? All right, moving on. Group alignment. If we only made progress in one area next year, what would matter most? I think for me, it's the transition plan, which will include education at some point.
Yeah, same.
Anyone else?
I would agree, transition plan with the education piece in there as well.
All right, share out prep. One insight or idea I learned from this commission. And think back to when Jeff first came, both of those things. And Caitlin, were you there for the second one? I think
On the
last meeting.
Last meeting.
Okay, yeah. So what is one insight or idea that we learned from Jeff being here? I think for me, the main thing I walked away with is cooperation. I think that when we come to a table with a place of being egotistical, things don't get done. We have to have an open mind. So I think the cooperation is number one.
Yeah, I put listening to each other. We talked about that a lot. Just same thing, like kind of set your ego aside. And we all have different opinions and lived experience. So understanding it, trying to understand where everyone's coming from.
Right? Anyone else? Jamie?
I think I'm beginning to understand how people communicate is essential because people communicate in different ways. It doesn't mean that one way is the end all be all. We need to embrace different levels of communication and build on those, which will make us a more cohesive group in the long run.
Perfect. Anyone else? All right, let's move on to group reflection. How do we move forward together? And let's think about that as a commission, as the public, as all of us working together. How do we move forward for ADA? Once again, I'm going to go back to, I think that the transition plan is a start. I think eventually, once this has been implemented with the city, it in and of itself is going to be a lot of education. City employees are going to walk away with a new, hopefully, respect for ADA. And hopefully when they go out into the community, they will speak up. An example is that my sister has been with me. I've been disabled most of my life. And my sister has 2 legs, but she works with me. And so she now speaks up. We went to the meat counter the other day and the guy looked at me and he's looked at Renee and he said, "How can I help you?" And Renee said, "She's the one that needs help." So I think that as the transition plan moves along, hopefully city employees will be a Renee and do that in the community.
Same with my dad. They always look at him. And a lot of people here know him because he was a firefighter for 26 years with the city. So they always tend to like talk to him and not me. So it's awkward, but you have to, you need more of those people too.
I had that happen to me many years back. I had just graduated from college, and my mom and dad and I went to a business that is no longer in business here, unfortunately. And the wait staff said, "And what will he be having for dinner?" In relation to me, they looked at my mom and said, "What will he be having for dinner?" And I popped up and I said, "Why don't you ask me what I would be having for dinner? I just graduated from college. I can order from a menu." So it really truly is about education, folks.
And Jamie, I have to say, your parents are spectacular for advocacy. So
Oh,
I know
they're
that-
absolutely amazing. I hit the gold mine when I got them for parents, really, truly.
for sure. And I love the fact that they advocate for me when I'm with you.
They
So-
do, yes.
Even
They
going back to
advocate for
special-
all with disabilities.
Yeah, for sure. All right, anything else? All right, let's move on to our action item, and that is to appoint a new chair and a vice chair. Let's talk about who we'd like to appoint, and then we will vote. Let's start with the chair. I would like to appoint Jamie to be chair. Any discussion between commissioners?
Is Jamie willing to be chair?
Jamie, that's on you.
I would be honored. I accept the nomination, and I have a lot of history and knowledge that I can bring to that position.
Right, can I have a motion for Jamie as chair?
We'll make that motion.
And second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Jamie?
Thank you so much. I accept the position.
Are you aye or nay?
I'm I.
Thank you, Jamie, and welcome aboard.
Thank you so much, everyone. I will do you proud, I promise.
Right, and now let's talk about a vice chair. Vice chair is basically Jamie's sidekick, and if Jamie can't run a meeting, the vice chair does it. So that's primarily the role of the vice chair. Is there anybody that and they don't have, we can nominate somebody that is not here.
Just can't vote on it because they
Yeah.
would have to accept.
Right.
And I would like to nominate Rachel Simiconda to be the vice chair. She and I have a long history, not only as friends, but a long history of working collaboratively together, and we work well together.
I would be willing to do vice chair. So I haven't done any positions like that in this group yet. And I would be willing to do that, and it would get me a little bit more experience. Especially and a little more time working with Jamie.
And Keith, I have also worked with you considerably for a long time. It would be an honor to work alongside you as well.
There's multiple nominations, so you can just ask for.
Yeah. I think, let's make a motion to bring this up next month so that we have more commissioners, since there's more than one of us. Can we move this? And I'll need a motion to move it to the next agenda, and then we can vote on it. And I will make that motion. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Jamie. All in favor, please say aye.
I,
Keith?
I can be a nay. But it'll still pass.
3 ayes and 1 nay, and we will table this until next month. All right, let's move on to our liaison reports. Mayor Daggett, do you have a report for us?
I do not. Thank you.
You. Lorena, do you have an update?
Hi, this is Lorena again, Associate Transit Planner at Mountain Line. I do have an update. We are rolling out smoothly to be on track for our August 2nd service changes, which includes a route expansion along Route 8. Last year on July 27th, we started serving Woody Mountain Road. We will now continue that service and be moving on a little bit further west along McAllister onto Alvin Clark, and then we'll be making a right onto Route 66. When we expand fixed route service, that also includes all of our paratransit services as well. So we're really excited that we continue to develop a robust transit system, and we look forward to hearing how that serves the public. And as always, I'm here for travel training, so please pass that along for anyone in outside agencies as well. That's a huge component to, making sure that folks familiarize themselves and feel comfortable riding the bus. And as far as Any mobility management updates? We do have a CMC meeting coming up on August 7th. So if you are interested in joining the Coordinated Mobility Council, you can also reach out to me directly. Following this, I will leave my name in the chat. That's what I've got. Thank you.
Lorena, will Route 8 ever go out to Woody Mountain? And how close is that to Woody Mountain?
So Route 8 currently goes out to Woody Mountain Road and takes a turn around the roundabout and then comes back out Woody Mountain Road and then makes a right onto Route 66. We will be extending that service. So it will go down Woody Mountain Road as it does now. And then McAllister Ranch is basically the first right you come to. So before the 40. So we won't be going too far south. We'll instead be increasing west. We have, I think, 5 different housing groups that have come in, and 3 of those are affordable housing. And so it's an important area to continue to add service. We have a lot of young families, a lot of students going from that area that are using a mountain line to get to middle school and high school as well. Sorry, I'm not sure if I answered your question, Rachel.
I actually said the wrong road, but you said that you're not. I was wondering about Kilty Lane because there's a ton of Gore employees that would probably use a fixed route, at least on first shift, if it went that far. So I don't know if that's something you can take upstairs, but that would certainly be, I think, a help.
Sure. We actually are in the process of conducting an operational assessment where we're looking at the entire transit network as a whole. And then, with a consulting firm that we're working with, they'll be making recommendations as to, where we really need to focus new implementation in the future. And, that's certainly on the list for long range planning as well. There are several communities that are coming up in the next 5 to 10 years out there. So I would look to I have confidence that, we will be serving west and south of town as those as those communities are developed. So.
Thank you.
I have a question for you, Lorena. I know
Sure.
there was talk about it, and I haven't been able to follow up and to see where any of it went, but what about 89 and a stop at Sacred Peaks? Because I've experienced that, I experienced that with my wife, first of all. And she can't walk that distance from the last stop and all that. And I know I experienced it when I was at the hospital getting some tests done. There was somebody in there that waited for a long time, and he finally went up there and they said, "Oh no, you have to get that test at Sacred Peaks." And this person had no method to getting there. Now I ended up volunteering, even though this was probably a homeless person. And I wasn't real certain about being safe, but I went and took that person to Sacred Peaks.
Well, that's incredible of you. I do have some awesome news to share. We are going to be adding a stop along Route 66 and 89A, approximately a quarter mile east of the Maverick stop, which is the closest stop to Sacred Peaks currently. So that's going to reduce that distance, cut it in half. We are unable to stop directly at the location because our buses can't get in the left turn lane from where Trails End is and get over and make a left onto Smoke Rise. So we're unable to actually stop at Sacred Peaks, but we're going to have Sacred Peak access as of August 2nd. So if you're familiar with, I think it's Magic's Hearth and Home, kind of, it's about a quarter mile. We're not exactly in front of a business front, but we are within proximity, within walking proximity. So hopefully, we'll be able to serve that community in a way that, we've been wanting to for quite some time. Again, logistically, from a safety and an operational standpoint, we aren't able to actually go exactly to Sacred Peaks.
Okay, well, I've been looking at some of that stuff and thinking about that too. And that area, I don't believe there's a sidewalk in that area.
There's a sidewalk there.
That goes all the way to Sacred Peaks?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. But there's a possibility that the bus could drop off at Sacred Peaks, take a right turn, go through that development, and then come across the street to the other side, and then go through the development on the other side where it currently goes through on the It would be the west side of 89 and then drop back into 89. It'd be a little bit longer loop, but it would serve some of the people in that housing development. And it would also serve the people on both east and west of 89 in that area. So that's a thought, maybe for a future discussion. And you'd be making right turns all the time. You wouldn't have to be doing any left turns or anything. And you'd be at a light to cross the street into the other development, I believe.
Are you talking about Christmas tree?
Yeah,
Yeah.
going into the east side of 89 and then coming back around out by the Maverick
Oh, they do that
to
already.
finish your loop or
They
whatever.
do that already.
Yeah, just going up to Sacred Peaks, do a drop off, go through the development that's east of 89 and then come back out by Maverick and, or whatever you would need to get, to the rest of your route. That serves on the west side also.
Lorena,
Sure,
maybe-
those are valuable suggestions. We actually have tried that route, and unfortunately, operationally, there are some setbacks, but I really encourage you, if you can, Keith, to get on our Mountain Line website. There is an area to provide comments for service planning, and all of those comments get put into a database, and so they are valuable. They also go to me as well. So I really encourage you to do that,
Okay.
and we certainly do appreciate, you know, your nuanced familiarity with that process, and then also, you know, your interaction with the community in need. So thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Lorena, have you guys considered, as part of Safe Streets, putting a crosswalk at Trails End 89A crossing from north to south?
I believe that's out of the Safe Streets realm, or ability to fund anything over there. But again, there are some long-range planning efforts going on with our operational analysis, and any of these comments can, you know, go directly to that process, and at least are recorded through the website. So I have them here on my end, but to be redundant, you know, please do get those in, and I can make sure those go to our strategic team as well.
Can you drop that in the chat and then drop your email also in the chat?
You bet.
You friend. Is that it? I will assume yes. Let's move
Sorry,
on
yes,
to
that's all I have. Thank you.
Elida. I think that you're the youth liaison, aren't you?
I actually resigned from that position a few months ago. Russ has now been appointed by NACOP as the youth liaison.
Go ahead, Russ.
And I think I emailed Aaron that I was appointed by the Northern Arizona Community of Practice Transition Team in May of 2026 to be the youth liaison. So I do have some updates. Number one, members of the leadership team of the Community of Practice Transition Team, which includes folks from Voc Rehab, including Steve Babcock, who talked to us today, but Joseph Spence, who is the vice chair of that team, Vince D'Alizio, who's from Voc Rehab, and myself, we will be presenting at the state IDEA conference in August. And our presentation topic will be how to maintain a disability advocacy group for over 16 years. Northern Arizona Community of Practice Transition Team was the first community of practice transition team in the state of Arizona. And that movement has grown substantially. And now we have a state transition community of practice transition team and dozens of community of practice transition teams across the state. So we're kind of excited about that. In our presentation, we'll be talking about collaborating with community-wide disability advocates, facilitating best practices as we can, identifying resources and promoting better life outcomes for youth and young adults with disabilities. And while ourselves as a commission or as a committee, being as accessible and as inclusive as possible. So that will be happening in August at the IDEA conference. If any of you are going to be at that conference, we would really encourage you to come and attend our presentation.
And IDEA specifically is for education, correct?
No, it's actually facilitated by the State Department of Education and Vocational Rehabilitation.
Oh, but it goes primarily for education and writing 504s and IEPs, correct?
No,
No.
it's also for like employment, because voc rehab, you know,
I
and
never knew that.
and more employment opportunities. They actually, in the past, it was like two different conferences. There was one that was just really kind of for education, and then the one that was more for employment. And now they've merged those two conferences, so it really does cover both. So
Is it gonna be hybrid?
I'm sure it will be.
Okay.
You know, and you can check with the State Department of Ed, because they're their primary facilitator, State Department of Education.
Okay.
But yeah, good question. It should be hybrid, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
But,
With CCTV, with the closed caption?
absolutely. I know, like, even like our presentation, our slides, we've been working really hard to make our PowerPoint slides as accessible as possible,
Yeah.
which is kind of hard, actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to do. And I am not an expert on that at all. I can put some of the words, but I don't know how to put those words on there to make them accessible, but.
I'll vouch for that.
Then as far as some other updates with regards to the community practice transition team, like I mentioned earlier in the meeting, we did meet with Sullivan Moore, housing planner for the city of Flagstaff. We had kind of a long, and he was a presenter, and then a long conversation about the difficulty with affordable and accessible housing in Flagstaff. And you may all recall that it's one of the two leading issues that were actually mentioned in the regional plan 2045. Accessible housing or affordable housing is one of the two leading issues. During the year, we also met with Jessica Biglione. She's program manager for the SCALE program at IHD. The SCALE program provides educational assistance for disabled youth and young adults who are attending post-secondary education. SCALE used to be called the SIPSI program, but new grant, new label, and really growing across the state of Arizona. So that's kind of exciting. And so the community practice transition team is involved with that as well. Obviously, increasing opportunities for post-secondary education for youth and young adults with disabilities is a major concern for the community practice transition team. We also met with Hannah Walsh. Hannah Walsh is the managing attorney for Disability Rights Arizona. And a lot of discussion about legal advocacy and civil rights for people with disabilities. Very informative topic. And a really good meeting for us. We met with Jason Sneed. Some of you might know Jason Sneed. Jason Sneed is from the Arizona Developmental Disabilities Planning Council. And he's actually the author of a paper on young adults and youth and young adults with disabilities and their interactions with law enforcement in particular, and the court system, and then even when they are adjudicated in incarceration. He was very good at reminding us that a person does not give up their ADA rights just because they get arrested or because they're in court or even if they're in prison. They do not. So he was very good. We met with him. We also met with Olivia Fryer. Olivia is the executive director of the Autism Society of Greater Phoenix. And we learned about the array of services and trainings that the Autism Society of Greater Phoenix provides. And that was a really good meeting as well. Other update, the team grew its collaborative membership this last year by reaching out to Flagstaff charter schools. And we've had some involvement from representatives from the charter schools, mental health professionals. We've also had more family involvement this year, which has been kind of exciting to see happen. And then, as I said, the team did maintain its membership with the state community practice transition team. And Sarah's not here today, but Sarah's involved with the community practice transition team as well. And our team hopes to be involved with helping to facilitate the disability resource fair that will be happening in October. And again, and as Rachel said, and this commission has been involved with that event in the past. I sincerely would ask you to be involved with it again in the future. It's a really good event and it does get out a lot of information, help to educate folks.
I went last year. It was really good.
That is a good event, right? So, and the community practice transition team will be involved with helping to facilitate that again this year, or we hope to be soon. But that's all I got as far as updates.
So, Jamie, is it okay if we skip police and sidewalk liaison?
Yes, that's fine.
And it's simply because we only have 7 minutes left.
Correct.
Also, can we also exclude the two from inclusion for commissioners? Is that okay? This is the time to kind of talk about everything between commissioners.
That would be fine with me as well.
Didn't hear everything you said.
Is it okay for us to skip the two for commissioners?
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Agenda items for next meeting. Our next meeting is July 22nd. However, we also need to plan our summer meeting plan. And Stacy has two options. Stacy, you want to talk about those?
I have two options.
Two more time after the.
Okay. I'm like, wait, I don't remember what other options. So I have booked, I've held a space, for 3 hours on July 22nd so that we could talk about today whether or not we wanted to just extend July's meeting an extra hour. Or if we wanted to take July's meeting and do the first part, kind of the first hour as commission business and the second part as, our summer planning.
I kind of like the hour of meeting and then 2 hours of summer planning.
Okay.
Keith, what do you think?
Well, Fridays are the best days for me. I would have to put in for another hour. As long as it doesn't go a whole lot, well, I mean, it could go more than that, but I would have to know a vacation time. Cause I have to take vacation time to be here right now.
And Fridays would also be a more suitable time for myself. I don't teach on Fridays, so if we could possibly look at a Friday, it would be much appreciated because I definitely have to be there and I want to be there.
We can certainly do a Friday. What I would recommend is that we don't meet on the Wednesday and move that meeting to Friday,
That would be the 24th.
the 24th, from 11 to 2.
I would have to leave early. I work at 2, so I would either need to leave a little bit early, like 15 minutes, 10 minutes.
As long as we don't lose quorum, I think that's okay.
We could also move it up. Let me just double check room availability. Because we might just be able to do it from 10 to 1. If that is more.
Unless I conflicts with other people, I can make it work.
Keith, do you work 4 days a week?
What's that? Yeah, I work 4/10, so Fridays are wide, the 24th is wide open for me right now, so we can do 10 to 1 if that's what you all want to do.
Or 11 to 2.
So I can do 10 to 1 on Friday. We have a room available. I need to reach out to those that aren't here to make sure that that works for them. But let's hold that time for right now, and I will follow up as soon as I hear back from them, hopefully by the end of the week.
So to confirm 10 to 2.
10 to 2.
Okay.
And I'm fine with either time frame.
Wait. 10 to 1.
Sorry,
I'm sorry, 10 to 1.
Sorry, I said it incorrectly, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
I can do 10 to 2 too also. Or 9 to 1, I don't. My day's wide open that day.
So let's do this. Think about your schedule for that 24th and then just email Stacy. And then she can let us know what works for everybody.
Yeah, I'll send a quick email out to the team, just making sure there's no concerns.
All right, and with that, we are going to
Perfect.
adjourn at 12:58. Everybody have a good summer. Stay out of the heat.
Thank you, everyone. Be safe.